We had some lovely conditions, actually quite varied conditions in Tenerife. Sort of scratchy, high pressure sort of days, and a bit of cliff soaring, and then some really good thermic conditions as well. So yeah, we had some really good fun playing around, and the Arak I think felt very good. And I mean, Skywalk pitch it as being between their Tequila 5 and their Chili 4, and it really does feel like a true mid B. So it really does give you nice, easy handling. The fun factor is still there, but you do feel like you've got the performance as well. I think I could notice the climb, the good climb rate, good sink rate. So thermaling well. I was often chasing Carlo, who was flying a C-rated wing, so did notice a difference when you go on glide on that, but definitely with similar other level B gliders, I was able to have a good glide and
you seem to be
well.
It seemed to be performing really well, keeping up.
Had not so much opportunity to do ground handling in Tenerife, but I have here.
Not a great place for ground handling.
Definitely not.
Like the South Down?
No, lot of dust. So yes, we had a bit of a play since we've come back to try and de-dust. And and actually I got a very good opportunity there to do quite a lot of ground handling with it as well. And that was actually the little bit that I was missing, was just to sort of feel what's it like on the ground, to pop it up and down and put it on its side and run around after it. And that was actually very easy. The launching, I mean, I found the launching very easy in Tenerife. I did a couple of forward launches, and the majority were reverse launches, and the forward launch just all good, let's go. Just
your launches seemed to go really well. Really
very
nice.
easy.
And then how was it? So in thermals, agile handling?
It does climb well, and its thermals, I think the thermaling is very easy. I found that I could get quite a nice bank on the glider without it feeling like it was really sort of digging in. So it felt like it had energy, it felt like it had a good flow. I felt like I could turn it quite tightly to stay in the punchier little thermals that we had on some days. And equally, could boat around quite nicely as well, doing nice big wide floaty turns. So I think the thermaling was good, and noticeably was able to climb very well with it. So.
And the brake pressure, is it what sort of brake pressure is it?
It's not light, so I could certainly feel the pressure of it. It's not heavy, but I did feel like it's quite a positive feeling. But I'd say more on the heavier side than the lighter side, but not I wouldn't say it was too heavy. But I could notice the pressure with it. So
that sort of firm, direct handling.
Yeah, it's got more of a direct feeling. It's not a glider that sort of gives you a lot of feedback. So if you're somebody who wants that little bit more of a reassuring feel, it's got a comfortable feel. It does give you good feedback, but it's not chatty. It's not sort of busy.
And at one point we got quite high.
Yes.
And we were breaking through the inversion. You can tell the wind was coming strongly over the back, so it was a good test.
Yes.
For it, but the glider seemed to be
it was
behaving really well,
keeping nice and stable, and had that nice reassuring feel. I didn't ever sort of have to feel like, oh, okay, well, yes, what's the wing doing? It was it was quite a nice feeling. Certainly when you're a bit rusty in winter conditions, what we've obviously had in the UK, less flying going on. So flying a glider like that, ideal for somebody who's wanting that reassuring feel but still wants to have the performance. Might be stepping up from a safe B. It would be a nice progression on for somebody who's been on the Tequila 5, who wants a little bit more from their glider but doesn't want to step up fully to the high B Chili 4.
Did you get to use the speed bar very much?
I did, particularly because we got the long glides out. So particularly while we were also trying to do a bit of filming as well, yeah, I was able to use the speed bar, and I was flying it with the Advanced Lightness 3, and it certainly felt very light and easy, and a noticeable progression as well. So you put the speed bar on, you do actually feel like you're made a difference and you're getting somewhere. I don't actually know what the difference is.
I think it's about 10 kilometres an hour or something like that.
Skywalk jet flaps, and you can see Carlo's hand poking through. And this is for improved braking when you're coming into land, and it actually does give a very nice smooth flare when you're landing.
It does suit you if you're somebody that has a little bit of brake creep. So as you're coming into land and you're sort of bringing the brakes down to sort of feel like you're slowing yourself down, it does actually really help with that. It helps with somebody who does that, because you're coming in and you've just got, it's a nice soft progression as you come in, and then it just slows the whole stall down. Did you find the same thing?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's hard to be completely sure, but you do feel like just that last bit of the brake, you've just got a little bit more brake that you can use. It just slows down just a little bit more, and the stall just seems a little smoother. Yeah. With the jet flaps, but it's hard to be sure whether is it really doing that, or is it sort of, But it does seem to be very good for that.
Seems to be just a little something that makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah,
so.
And it doesn't seem to be a problem when you're flying in stronger winds to then stall it down to get the glider down.
Still comes down really nice. Yeah, actually, because I had a landing. It wasn't a strong wind, but it was a stronger wind than we had on other days, and I felt like I had to give the glider a bit more of a sort of full stall down to really get the glider down. But it came down and responded well. It was the punch the ground, the glider responded and stalled nicely. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Did you try big ears?
I did big ears, and they were lovely. They just slotted in.
Lovely ears.
Lovely ears they were. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they popped in, and they just, that nice stable ear that comes in, no flapping about and material being messy.
Big ears without the flap.
Yes. They did need a little bit of a pump to release.
Easy, comfortable and effective.
Yes.
Probably good.
Well summarised them.
Is it a Tequila 4?
Is it a Tequila 4? Now, there's an interesting question. I would say not quite. I would say it's not. It is reminiscent of the Tequila 4 in that it's got that mid-B feeling. So the Tequila 4 seemed a little bit too agile and a bit too nice and responsive in its class, didn't it? It seemed a little bit, which is, for more experienced pilots, it was lovely, but for the pilots it was aimed at, you always thought, oh, this is a little bit, almost a bit too agile.
A bit more sporty.
And it definitely is reminiscent of that, but it feels like, to me, I don't know if you agree, but I felt like the ARAK turns a little bit flatter. It's actually a little bit more docile. It's not quite as playful as the Tequila 4, but definitely reminiscent of the Tequila 4.
Yeah, those flatter turns were definitely noticeable. So it does have that fun feeling, and it does have the energy about it. But yeah, it has more energy than the Tequila 5 does. Yeah. So yeah, it's got flavours of the Tequila 4, but yeah, and has more energy than the 5 and more feedback than the 5.
Yeah. I think it's really great that Skywalk have brought out a glider in between the Tequila 5 and the Chili 4. I think that's a great thing to see. I think more manufacturers should do that. The B class has just got too wide, and so and pilots are often stuck with this choice of either a low B, which can be suitable out of the school, or they then jump up to a high B, which can be quite hot. Yeah. And so the ARAK sits really nicely between the two, the Tequila 5 and the Chili 4 or the Kumio. It sort of sits in between those. Felt to me like the ARAK was a little bit more towards the direction of the Tequila 5.
Agreed.
And so it felt a little bit to me like they could have made it even a bit more playful and a bit more agile.
Yes.
Perhaps. But some pilots are going to really like that, the fact that it's more
It's more reassuring, in the middle,
yeah.
in the middle of the V.
It's a very versatile glider, but it can't be all things to all pilots, I don't think.
It's nice that it's a little bit lighter weight.
Yeah.
It is noticeable. You can feel the glider on the ground feeling a little bit lighter, and the materials are lighter, and it certainly is quite compact.
With the ARAK, it's got those soft rods that you can really squish down and compress, so you can make it into a very small package.
Yeah.
Skywalk actually delivered the ARAK with a hike backpack, which is pretty small. So you can see here
This is the 55.
yeah, this is the rucksack that came.
This would come with the extra small, the 55 litre.
Yeah, and you can see it's a pretty small rucksack. I mean, you need a pretty compact harness in there. But the idea is that, yeah, the ARAK can be used for hike and fly, can be used straight out of the school, for cross-country flying, for wagger playing around.
Yeah.
So in that way, it is very versatile.
Nice, fun, reassuring wing to play around on. Yeah. So the pilot that's going to be super happy with the ARAK is likely to be a pilot stepping up from perhaps a high A, so it could be from their first glider, and I think they make a nice progression up. If they're feeling more adventurous, they don't want to just stay in the safe end of the B, they want to be moving up the B class, they're feeling a bit more adventurous, and perhaps they've got aspirations of wanting to do perhaps more hike and fly, so they've got something a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I think the ARAKs, it is suited to a very wide spectrum of pilots, from talented beginners who just want for normal recreational flying, through to pilots who want to get into hike and fly, and but want something that's durable, that's not really light, fragile construction, and then through to pilots who are getting into cross-country flying, and want something that's versatile, that's got good performance for climbing and going cross-country. So it's suited to a pretty wide spectrum of pilots.
Yeah.
Quite a few gliders tend to be either they're full fat, sort of durable, made to last, or they're very lightweight. So, for example, one good example of that, you've got the Tenor from Phi, or the Tenor Light. So the ARAK is a little bit lighter than the Tenor, the standard Tenor, but the Tenor Light's quite a lot lighter. It's like about 1 kilo lighter than that. But of course, a much lighter construction. So I can see Skywalk have drawn a sort of graph of where pilots want to be, and then right in the middle of it. I think that's the reason you go for the ARAK, is maybe a little bit, I can't decide what I want to get, so you get something that's in the middle of everything.
And because you want something that's reassuring and comfortable, but still giving you the performance, but you're not having to be totally on it like you would be for a high B.
You have total confidence launching it, flying in turbulent conditions.
So I really enjoyed flying the Skywalk ARAK in Tenerife. A comfortable, reassuring glider, and it's going to give you great confidence. Then choose the ARAK.
Incoming! Incoming! How was that?
Fantastic, very nice. Thank you, Tenerife.
Yes, a great week, and time to head back to the UK.